live from New York. Well done.
That was pretty good.
It's the show that's wondering, is Kevin Wildes actually sick, or is he just getting a head start on his trip to Foxborough?
That's a good point.
Like the old.
It's a big game.
Yesterday, he's had a little fake cough in the office. This morning, he's on the meeting. No, I'm coming in, guys. Don't worry about it.
I tell you what, when you said, "Hey, man, take it off," he was quick. He was quick.
Right. He was like, "All right,
Boom.
see you guys
I'm
Monday."
out.
See you guys Monday. As we heard him paying his toll on the Massachusetts Turnpike. It's first things first. We start today with last night's game. Bills take down the Dolphins 31-21. The game was actually closer than the final score, with Miami having a chance to get the ball in a tie game in the fourth before roughing the punter penalty flipped the game. And then Tua, of course, did what you can never do. You just can't go full Tua with a crippling interception that made just no sense. Josh Allen finishes with three touchdowns. His team's now 3-0, and the Bills are once again back in their rightful place as September champs. Brew, were you impressed with the Bills after the win?
Look, did they look like world beaters? No. All right. Did they get run on by the Dolphins? Yes. But this was a good win. And I like their demeanor after the game. It was like, job well done. We're happy we won. Not despondent.
Yep.
And look, I understand, and Josh kind of addressed it, that just because you win doesn't mean you played well. You want to, look at your mistakes and shortcomings and learn from them and all of that. You have to look in the mirror. But I also think there's a danger in going the other way. And I said it yesterday. I thought we saw that 2 years ago with Philadelphia. When they were 10-1, they had beaten the Chiefs in Kansas City.
Yep.
They had beaten Buffalo. They had beaten Dallas when Dallas was a 12-win team. They had beaten an 11-win Miami team. They had beaten Tampa Bay. They had good wins, but it felt like the conversation after every game, including kind of among them, was they're not playing well. We're not playing well. And it just kind of overwhelmed them. And then the supernatural funk, they lost 5 of their last 6, go out early in the playoffs. So I think that the Bills have a good, way of handling this. They weren't awesome. They have things they can work on. Look, I don't think they would have lost last night, but that roughing the kicker penalty was huge.
Well,
now, I think they would have won, but, that was huge. And then, of course, Baltimore kind of gave them a win. So, I don't think they would have lost, but a couple bad breaks, they could be 1-2.
And before you go, also, even after the roughing the punter and Buffalo goes and scores, Miami's driving, and it looked to me like it was going to be 28-28 with Josh Allen getting the ball, and they probably are going to win that match. But Tua just – that wasn't a great play by Buffalo that forced that turnover. Tua threw it right to him, and so it was a more tenuous game than certainly Vegas expected and a lot of people expected.
Yeah, I don't know how you could be impressed, but it felt like they were just kind of keeping Miami at an arm's length. They being Buffalo, have owned Miami. They were showing the graphics all night. They have owned the division since Josh Allen has been right. It was 25-6 against the AFC East going into last night. Tua has 1 win against Buffalo since he's been the starter in Miami. So I don't know. I wanted to defer it back to you as the guy who created S-Bob. Right. Buffalo is S-Bob.
That's right.
Yeah.
So in a game like that, what am I supposed to really take away from it? It's they did their job. They did their job.
They're going to be weeks like that.
Right, exactly.
They're going to, I don't think they're going to go 17-0. They're going to lose to a lesser team at some point or a very good team. But whatever the case, you're going to have games like that. They still won by 10 points. It's a divisional opponent. Remember, last year Miami played them, lost by 3.
Yep.
So they play. Divisional games are strange. So I think it's a good win.
Okay, so listen, I want to give Josh Allen credit for what he deserves credit for, despite the fact that we are in the midst. Turn on a Collins show, turn on the competing shows. We are in the midst of the annual September tradition of, I've never seen a quarterback better than this guy. Can you imagine? He can jump over people. You can set your watch to it, and that's fine. And
he is awesome, man.
Listen, he is awesome.
He's awesome.
And as the show,
the September champs is absolutely right.
And it's not. And people, they forget that we've done this 4 of the last 5 years with him, but it's fine. And as the show's Bills Bills guy, I'm fine with it because I believed in him last year, and this year, Danny, I tried to steal my corner on it by picking him to win the Super Bowl
and to be the MVP.
But where I want to give Josh Allen credit is the reason he's not a roller coaster anymore is because he went from the most turnover-prone player in the entire league to the least. Or Lamar might be the least, but he's very close.
Yeah.
So I'm not even including like early Josh Allen on that left-hand column. You know what I mean? This is 21, 22, 23 when he was perennial MVP candidate Josh Allen. He was more than a turnover a game. From last year to now, he's a turnover every 3 games and more efficient passing the football. Like, that makes them deadly. You know what I mean? And because when he always had this heroic upside.
Yes.
And when you remove the crippling mistakes, that's what makes them, it feels like they play poorly and score 30.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, even if you think that other people are going too far on Josh Allen, and I've said that he's the second best player to Mahomes.
I think that's correct.
Right, and we're in agreement.
Yeah.
So, like, that's the thing. We're parsing greatness. He is, for the modern NFL, this version of him, a perfect offensive player. Because he throws the ball down the field, he doesn't turn it over, he can run, and he's accurate.
Well, listen,
he has no weaknesses as a football player.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't want to do that right now because I view
last night.
Last night I thought last night Josh Allen played well. I didn't think, it was a lot of the stuff that modern NFL has become, which is dinking and dunking and like taking what the defense gives you. I didn't think last night was like a special Josh Allen game. I thought he was, but it's to his credit that, we're not surprised.
There are a lot of games like that.
Yes.
I mean, it's once every, 5 or 6 games where he just wows
like
you.
week 1 against Baltimore, obviously.
But other times he's
steady
it done,
and he's not turning the ball over. But what I do want to get to here is, I think, the bigger point, which is kind of your prediction from before the year. This should be their season. And there will be, within that building, a real accounting and accountability if it's not. Kansas City is going to have to fight during the regular season. So we would think they will have used more gas than usual in the regular season when you get to the postseason. They have a huge edge against Baltimore as far as getting the 1 seed and path to the 1 seed. They have, at the current moment, according to teams' record right now, the easiest schedule left in the NFL.
Their path to a 1 seed is easy.
Right. The teams they play the rest of the way are combined 10-19 right now. It's a .345 winning percentage, which is the lowest of any team in the league. And there could not right now be more pressure on Sean McDermott to make sure that come the postseason, his defense bows up for the first time. Because that's the only part of last night, Brew, that was concerning is too far, but certainly not impressive.
Miami had its way.
Right.
There's no doubt.
Is that we have now seen, obviously Baltimore moved the ball at will. The Browns moved the ball and then shot themselves in the foot. But you know what I mean? They, on yards per play, the Browns were fine and they're a bad offense.
Right.
And Miami moved the ball well.
Yes.
That's the only concern because it is setting up early on as well as Buffalo could possibly hope for.
Here's the only pushback I'll give, and I'm not saying this because I'm the Ravens guy. I think you got 2 teams in the AFC that meet your criteria, that are like, this is their year. Baltimore feels just as much as this has to be the year as Buffalo. They both of them are, this has to be the year, or who knows what's going to happen next season. And so I think, not to get into a Bills-Raven conversation, if both of those teams play their best, I think the Ravens win. Just because offensively, I think they've got more firepower. Buffalo is pretty much Josh and some good players. Obviously, you got Lamar and Derek. But they're both, even if it's in Buffalo, I think, but both of them are complete S-Bob.
Listen, I think that the Ravens roster, I agree with the majority that it's better than Buffalo's. But Buffalo, they were, second in the NFL in scoring last year in the regular season?
No, they're great. They're both great teams.
And they were number 1 in the NFL in scoring when you included the postseason. Like, they scored more than the Eagles. They scored more than the champs. Like, I think people look at them and they're like, where is their Derrick Henry? Where is their number one weapon?
Right.
And it's all Josh. But their offensive line,
is their number one. Is their biggest weapon outside of Josh.
And James Cook look awesome.
Is responding to the contract that I was squeamish on by through a few games, looking as good as he's ever looked.
It's also clearly benefited Josh. Nothing against Stephon Diggs, but now you see he's spreading the wealth, and I don't think he feels the pressure to get it to that one super guy.
No, the turnovers plummeting the moment he stopped focusing on Diggs, even when Diggs was still on the team, is noteworthy. It might be, I don't know if it's correlation, causation, but the timeline lines up with it. All right, other side of the ball. Dolphins fall in Buffalo. It was not that cold out. They're 0-3 on the season. Tua throws just a mind-bending interception in a game that otherwise he was playing fine in. I hope so. I mean, you're supposed to be a division contender.
It's week 3.
You're supposed to be a playoff contender. Week 3. You have one of those expensive rosters in the league. Danny, are you ready to write off the Dolphins?
The better take is to say yes, that the season's over because of what the math says about 0-3 teams. 3 of their next 4 are Jets, Panthers, Browns. And they've got almost 2 full weeks before, because they play Thursday and then it's Monday against the Jets, a week from Monday. So they got a ton of rest before that game at home there. They'll probably lose to the Chargers, obviously. But 3 and 4 teams make the playoffs all the time. So the season is on life support. I do not think it is completely 100% over for this year. And as you said, if not for the roughing the punter and the mortifying interception, they easily could have beaten.
But the problem for the mortifying interception is that wasn't by your backup quarterback. That's by the guy who's going to be. And he had a similar interception that helped lose him the Patriot game.
Listen, I'm not a Tua guy by any stretch. Overwhelmingly likely here they are going to miss the playoffs and there's going to be big changes coming to Miami. What I would say, though, is I was actually pretty impressed with McDaniel last night. I thought his play calling, given the limitations of Tua, was impressive. Tua threw the ball 34 times last night. 12 of those passes were at or behind the line of scrimmage, and they were still moving. The guy can't throw the ball down the field. And so his ability to build an offense around such a limited quarterback, they gave him the extension last year. If I was running Miami, I would be looking to get rid of Chris Greer, their general manager, who's been there for 25 years, a GM for the last 9. He's the guy who took Tua over Justin Herbert, and I would be looking to move off of Tua as quickly as possible.
But you still believe in Mike McDaniel?
I am not convinced you can do better than Mike McDaniel.
Did you pick Miami to make the playoffs?
No, I thought they were going to miss the playoffs.
Okay.
I thought they were going to miss the playoffs. Here's the thing, man. When Tua plays, since 2023, they are the 6th-ranked scoring offense in football.
No, that's
and he's not the 6th best quarterback.
No, but that's a lot. Listen,
he's not the 6th best quarterback.
I understand that, but you're saying, is the season over or not? Not only do I think the season's over, I think the year is over. I think you got to start over.
That's most likely what's going to happen.
Well, it's not going to be easy to get rid of Tua.
I think unfortunately you have to. Tua likely has to be there one more year. Like contractually, after next year they could easily move on.
Yep.
Maybe this offseason they could trade him. But and then I'll give it to you, Brew. This is just a fundamental if we are looking at the 2025 Miami Dolphins being like, man, Mike McDaniel's doing a good job. He's not the offensive coordinator. He's the head coach. I believe Mike McDaniel can draw up really good offense and you know what I mean, and call good plays. We have no evidence that he's a good head coach, which is a different job. And
his first 2 years they made the playoffs. Now I know they had won some games before he got there with Flores. I disagree with Dan. Like, they're done this season. Like, that's why I asked, did you have them making the playoffs?
I did not.
I think they're done this season. But I am with you in that I would not think about firing McDaniel anytime soon. I think, unless it just goes completely south and they're 1-7 or something like that, I'm keeping him the whole season. I don't know exactly what's going on inside that building, but this rest of this season, if I'm the management, I'm watching how he's handling the team. I'm watching how the players respond to him. Do they fight for him? Even if their chances of making the playoffs are slim, are they playing hard for him? Last night, with all the talk about him being on the hot seat, they went out there and gave it their all for him. I do think he's a great offensive mind. I think this is actually kind of sad because the start of his tenure was like, oh my gosh, like this guy's really lighting it up. And I think, like you said, Nick, I'm not as down on Tua as you, but that was a huge mistake when you didn't have to do it. And so I think that has set them back. But Mike McDaniel, I want to see what he does the rest of this season because I think he can be a good coach.
And I think that it is very clear the parts of being a head coach that aren't the parts of being an offensive coordinator, Miami is lacking. The team, like the
discipline.
The discipline of being an NFL head coach is really important. Tyreek Hill does whatever the hell he wants. He can't get his team consistently on message. That article that I referenced yesterday, people being late or skipping meetings, that is a culture rot that comes from the place of, it would appear, and I think fear is overrated, but respect is important.
No, you can't. You got to set that standard from the get-go.
And so what is remarkable to me about it is I think people have almost memory hold how close the Dolphins appeared to be. In the 2023 season, going into week 17, they controlled their destiny for the 1 seed. They were going into a game against Baltimore that if they won it, they locked up the division and they had the tiebreaker for the 1 seed. They got beat 56-19. The next week, they played Buffalo to lock up the 2 seed and win the division. And they lose to Buffalo 21-14 in a game they had a 7-point lead in the fourth quarter, 14-7, and blew it. And since then, it has been catastrophe after catastrophe. And this is where I think Miami's in real trouble. Going into that 23 season and since then, they spent, Brew, like we are contending right now. We can show you all the big contracts they gave out. And right now, honestly, aside from Jalen Waddle, they'd love all those back. You know what I mean? They gave two. They gave
That's Chris Greer, man.
Right, I agree with you.
Yes.
But I also think Mike McDaniel signed off on Tua. And I said it at the time that I was going to grade Mike McDaniel on a curve because I didn't believe in Tua. But if they paid him, then he is giving him his stamp, and now we just have to grade him on, you have a franchise quarterback. You have
that also presupposes that Mike McDaniel had the say in it and was allowed to do it. I mean, he was one of the youngest head coaches when he got hired. He's in his 4th year as a head coach. He's got a 3-game losing streak this year, but still has a winning record as a head coach. He's lost 2 playoff games. One was the freezing game at Arrowhead.
But that's part on him.
But compared to what that, like, that is a hard place to win.
It was
when's the last time they had a consistent contending team?
And then the other playoff loss, they lost by 3 to Buffalo with Skylar Thompson in a shootout. 34-31. Like, Again, most likely they will fire GM and coach because those 2 things happen together. But I'm just not convinced that the next coach is going to be able, like that you would trust whoever the next quarterback is after Tua, that you're going to be able to hire a coach better than Mike McDaniel to get the most out of that quarterback.
And we have to move on to the Chiefs. I just think I think a new age way of looking at football is that if you are a brilliant offensive mind, that's 90% of being a head coach. And when we look at the consistently successful head coaches, I just don't think that measures up. I think that if I were, let me add this and then we'll move on. Maybe Dolphins can't win. If Mike McDaniel gets fired and I'm running a team that needs a head coach, I don't look at Mike McDaniel's tenure in Miami and say, I want him to take over my program. Maybe if I had a well-run, you know what I mean? If like a coach retired, not fired, but, everything oddly, like if Andy Reid retired.
Oh,
and it's
here
like,
we
hey,
go.
no, I'm saying that's a bad example, but I'm saying like something where everything is already running and you know what I mean? The culture has set itself. But if like the Panthers need a new head coach, that is not something that I'd be signing up for. All right, speaking of the Chiefs, they're in a must-win game, according to some, in MetLife Sunday night. Xavier Worthy, recovering from a shoulder injury, back on the practice field. Andy said we'll see if he plays. I think he's going to play.
Was he a full go?
They haven't released. He was listed as he was listed as limited and questionable officially. Last week he was doubtful and then out. Assuming he's playing, Brew, what do you need to see from Mahomes and the Chiefs?
Quite simply, a win.
Yeah.
I mean, a win is that rights the ship because they haven't played. I mean, the defense was bad in week 1, but still, you lost to 2 very good teams. Those are understandable losses. You come and win this game, and that's what, look, they don't generally blow teams out these last few years. They have had a couple, but generally they don't blow teams out. So getting a good win against a desperate New York team in New York where the defense in New York is going to want to show something because they've been very disappointing. So if they just get a win, I'd be impressed. Look, Mahomes, I would love to see him be more accurate. I would love to see him, if Xavier's playing and you still got Hollywood Brown, obviously, throw the ball downfield more, stuff like that. But I'm serious. Just a win will give you a good amount of momentum going into Baltimore. And if you get that win, now you're 2-2 and everything is right.
I'm 100% with you. It doesn't matter if it's a baseball score. Win 3-2.
Yeah.
Win 7-3 because I think the Chiefs have a lot of problems right now. They can't run the ball, they can't rush the passer, and their top 2 pass catchers are injured and have been out. So if you go 0-3, the historical trends say you're done. No one will say the Chiefs are done because they're going to be the team that we're going to give all the benefit of the doubt to. But 1-2 is a hell of a lot better than 0-3 for anybody. So worthy, no worthy, whatever. They just have to go into New York at night and win. That's it.
So you guys are saying you don't mind if it's ugly.
You come on.
Hold on a
All
second.
right, I'm sorry. Sorry.
I'm here to tell you I think it's going to be ugly.
Oh.
So I have said this is the second worst I have felt about the Chiefs since Mahomes got there, which is the only time it was worse was coming off getting blown out in the Super Bowl, being 3-4, and the 3-4 stretch got blown out by Buffalo and then blown out by the Titans. That 8th game that year, they played the Joe Judge New York Giants, who were en route to being 4-13. And we were in the midst of our first ever, just like we have the annual tradition of Josh Allen's the greatest quarterback we've ever seen, that was our first ever. The league has solved Patrick Mahomes' stretch. That was the too high safety.
Right, exactly.
And cover 2. And it was a week before the Packers and Jordan Love came to Arrowhead, and Jordan Love couldn't complete a pass, and the Chiefs barely beat him. And in that game, the Chiefs trailed in the 4th quarter and needed a Harrison Butker kick to win it, and Mahomes was not good. And he was in the midst of a 5-game stretch with 6 touchdowns, 6 picks. But they won, and they only lost one more time the rest of the year and found themselves in the AFC Championship game. So I do not think this is a style points weekend. No. I do think that, oddly, even with that analysis, I don't think they can lose. I think by hook or crook, they find a way to win, but I don't think this is the narrative on Monday is the Chiefs are fixed. I think the narrative on Monday is the Chiefs survived, and then next Sunday against Baltimore, we see if they're fixed. That's where I stand.
I love that you say all of that. It's like, but they can't lose.
They can't lose.
Well, it's the
Chiefs.
No.
They can't lose. Talking America's Game of the Week, Bears hosting the Cowboys. Revenge game for Matt Eberflus as he tries to shut down Caleb Williams.
Thanks, buddy.
No problem. Coach Mangini here with us, but Daniel, I'll start with you. What is more important this weekend? The Bears win or Caleb has a huge game? You don't get to say both. Obviously, you'd love both, but if you have to choose one of the other.
Right. Because win and Caleb plays great is the A+.
Yes.
Lose and Caleb plays awful
is the worst.
Is the F-. So the question is,
which of the two would you rather?
Win.
Wow, that's shocking.
I changed it.
Wow.
I think because here's the thing. It will be very upsetting if Caleb plays poorly against a bad defense. It will be very upsetting. I will not enjoy it. But if they lose, the season's over. And I am not mentally prepared for another Bears season to be over.
So you have more faith in the Dolphins than the Bears.
Right.
The Dolphins you wouldn't write off. They are 0-3, and you said they're not dead yet.
I've seen the Dolphins schedule and I've seen the Bears schedule.
Okay.
So the reality of the situation is that If they win against Dallas, and then they have Vegas in week 4, and then the bye, you can get sale, and everything can still be fine. Caleb Williams is in game 3 with Ben Johnson. We all agree that he's most likely to be the Bears quarterback next year?
Caleb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means he's in game 3 of 34. Right?
Already writing him off for the playoffs.
Assuming how.
Sad.
So it's a little early to put development over a win when this season isn't over yet. I'll get there, by the way. Bears 2-5, I'll be rooting for Caleb over outcomes of games. But 0-2, I'm not there yet. No, win the game.
At the risk of sending you over the edge,
Here we go.
the season's over.
Already?
Yes.
Bro.
0-2 is usually a death knell. We've seen
What?
the stats, right? Usually
Bro.
a death knell. And I'm not writing off Kansas City. I don't write off all 0-2 teams. But looking at the way the Bears have played.
Didn't you have them in the playoffs?
Yeah, I did.
So they lost to
I
Detroit
was
and
wrong.
Minnesota and it's over?
I think so.
Oh, my God.
And even
because
if
of how they lost
Yeah,
to
they
Minnesota, because
looked-
Minnesota looked bad, and Detroit
Yes.
scored 50 on
Yes,
them.
they
That's
just
the-
don't look
that part
good.
wasn't great.
They just don't look good. And I think now it's all about Caleb's development. Because nothing matters if this guy isn't your guy.
Coach hates this.
And he, look, Coach,
Tell him, Coach.
he better play well.
I agree with that.
You just saw 36-year-old Russell Wilson, who hasn't been great in years, go out there and throw for almost 500 yards.
Yeah.
All right, you just saw J.J. McCarthy, who's looked horrible in every other quarter he's played except the 4th one when he scored 3 touchdowns against this defense. Deron Bland looks like probably out again. No pass rush. Like, he's got to light them up. It's one of those situations where if he lights them up, it's going to be like, oh, that was great. I'm still not sold on him. But if he plays poorly, it will be like, oh, man, what in the world is Caleb Williams going to turn into?
This to me is definitely a win, and it's a win because there's a lot of levels here. There's a win from Ben Johnson's perspective, right? We talked about the other day. He was the #1 draft pick of new head coaches, and now he's playing Brian Schottenheimer, who's the free agent that nobody could believe Dallas would ever hire because he had no credentials. So now Brian could be going 2-1. Ben Johnson could be going 0-3. Ben Johnson, offensive guru, is supposed to come in and fix Caleb. Now, if Caleb doesn't play well against the head coach, who's now the defensive coordinator of the team that got lit up last week, but he was your head coach, and now this guru that you brought in can't beat the guy that you got rid of, who got lit up the week before, that's problematic as well. And as you're trying to establish a new culture in a building, and he's hardcore, right? He's talking about how practice isn't tough enough, how the guy, he's pointing out all the things the guys aren't doing well, which he should do. But if they don't start winning, his credibility slowly gets eroded in that locker room. And it's early for that, but it's still, guys want to see why you were brought in to be the head coach. What do you need to validate yourself there? And so that's through Caleb playing well. That's through them seeing the fruits of their labor. And the other thing is the defense is playing so poorly right now. He's got to get that fixed too. He's the head coach of the whole team.
And that quickly, see, if this was Carolina, I'd be with you guys. I think Dallas is better than them. Would you, like, Dallas has looked better. I know they're,
Yeah, well, no, I mean, they're road favorites.
You lose to a pretty good team that might, have a chance for the playoffs. I think that's different.
All right, so I want to agree with Danny for 2 reasons. One is here are the winless teams in the NFC right now. Carolina, New Orleans, and the Giants. You simply can't be the company you keep and have any hope for the season. You know what I mean? Moving forward. The other one is more of a kind of crazy way my brain works type of thing. But if you guys don't scoff at it and you listen, I think you'll agree.
That's going to be tough.
Which is, hold on. The second biggest difference of any 1 win versus 1 loss record is 0-3 versus 1-2. The biggest is 17-0 versus 16-1. The gulf between those two is historic and enormous. But of every other, like, we're 4-5, or we're 5-4, we're 10-7, or we're 9-8, the biggest emotional delta is 0-3 or 1-2. Because 1-2, it's like, Like we go basically almost 2-1. One game away from 500, and like if we could have won that one. But 0-3, it just feels like we just suck. You know what I mean? We're just awful. Which is why I'm going to cheat on my answer.
Oh.
The answer is both have to happen. Both have to happen.
I didn't know that was allowed.
I
that wasn't on the board.
Because here's the thing. Because for the Bears, it's not just a math problem. It's a vibe and psychology problem. If they are going to pull themselves out of, if they're going to get to 2-2 before the bye, obviously they have to win, but they also have to feel good about where they're going. And they have to, for the first time since Caleb missed those nets in training camp, quiet everything down. You know what I mean? There's been so much the defense allowed 50 points, and we spent the week talking about Caleb. Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? That article came out the eve of the season. Spent the week talking about Caleb. So if they win 9-6, the noise will, you know what I mean, still be massive. And if they lose and Caleb plays great, the noise will be, we're the Panthers. We suck. And so I think
But we got our quarterback.
Where I agree with you is this, just real quick.
Yeah.
I don't really see any way they win without Caleb playing well.
That's
the game script here.
Yeah, and Dak's going to
the Bears secondary is a bunch of practice squad guys, frankly. Like Kyler Gordon's out, Jalen Johnson's out. It's not – CeeDee Lamb is going to torch them. Dak will torch them. They can win a shootout, though, if Caleb plays well.
All right, heading to Philly. Eagles hosting the Rams Sunday. What a Fox doubleheader.
That's right.
Eagles, Rams, the early game, and then Cowboys, Bears, the late game. Tush, push, full display. The NFL sent out the code red to the refs. Hey, guys, crazy thing, NFL officials. How about we call this play correctly? Brew. That was I'm paraphrasing the league memo, but that's what it was. Do you expect this to hurt the Eagles on Sunday?
Well, first of all, I think this is good that the league did this. I don't think it's great that it leaked because it looks like, to your point, what have you been doing the last 4 years? And I haven't looked at every tush push the Eagles have done over these 4 years, but my assumption is they haven't been doing this. But maybe they have, and the league's been letting it go.
And for whatever it's worth, Brew, just so the audience knows, I should have said this. The tush push that the league pointed out as illegal is not the one we keep showing where both guards jumped that Brady focused on. It was the one earlier in the game where just the one guard jumped. So like even the more egregious one wasn't the one they were focusing on. But go ahead.
But as far as affecting it, I don't think it'll negatively affect the Eagles because my assumption is that they've spent this week working on it as far as the league rules. And I think, Coach, they're going to come out and run it maybe better than ever. Like they want to show like this is not going to hinder us at all. They're motivated to do it. And so I don't think it's going to hinder them at all.
How funny would it be if the first penalty they called was on the defense?
Well, that's right, because there's been a lot of talk about the defense.
They're trying to regulate both sides, right? And the defense is lining up offsides quite a bit. So that would be really interesting. And the ability to really control this or to get it exactly right, it's hard. It's hard to see the distinction. It's hard. We're talking about fractions of seconds with guys jumping off sides. So for them to change the outcome of a game or potentially change the outcome of a game by calling a penalty just because it's mandated, I don't know how many officials are going to really want to be the one that does that. I also hope Philly hard counts a bunch out of it. It really sits hard on the cadence, try to get somebody to jump, and then keep pushing it to the other side.
So listen, both those things, the defense jumping off sides or Philly hard counting, very effective for the tush pushes from the middle of the field or in their own down in their own territory. The goal line tush pushes, that gains you nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, these would have to be
they have to be like fourth and ones you wouldn't normally go for.
Right, not on the goal line.
Right, and on the goal line, defenses could, do a version of the Frankie Louvu, which is, you know what I mean? We're going to take our shot
8 times.
But then they might give you a touchdown.
Right, exactly. So, Danny, I think this absolutely will have a tangible impact on the game if they attempt to use the play. Because I do think Philadelphia is great at this play, better at this play than anyone else. I also think they are used to doing it the way they do it. And I think that they have there has been mission creep on what they have been able to get away with as far as where they're lined up, how quickly the guards fire, all of that. And I think now they're just used to it. And I think that it only takes one penalty to drastically impact their decision flow on the goal line. Because the other part of this, and what's so frustrating to me as a football fan about this play is, you have the best offensive line in football and Saquon Barkley.
Right.
You could just run normal plays. Go ahead.
Okay, so you and I have been mostly aligned on our disdain for the tush push. And I floated my theory the other day to Coach, and he absolutely hated it, which is basically that the Eagles should have voted against the tush push at the league meetings also, because the play is beneath them. They don't need it. And Coach, I did not. Okay, I know. I'll tell you what.
It's a legal football.
It's a dumb rugby play that is beneath them. But here's the thing. It does work. But I'm calling my shot on this graphic.
Okay.
The Eagles have had one of the best offensive lines in football for like the last decade. How about this? The Eagles on 3rd and 4th and short for the 4 seasons before the tush push, before we ever saw it, they converted 87.8% of their quarterback sneaks, and they attempted more QB sneaks on 3rd and 4th and short than any team in the league. In the 4 years since the tush push, 1% more, and they also are converting more tush pushes. With that offensive line and Jalen Hurts, they don't need it. So they might get a penalty called this week, and that will hurt them. But in the aggregate, if the play went away tomorrow, they would still be the best short yardage team in the NFL.
If you were in the casino and you had 1% better odds on a bet, would you bet it?
Of course, but that's not the Danny. I know you said you're going to call your shot on the graphic. The problem is Josh won't allow the graphics to be naked of context. Put Danny's graphic up again, and I will explain to you why it's not a percentage.
This is a Troy special.
All right, Troy, sorry. So you're telling me in the 4 seasons, 2018 to 2021, they ran 41. That's 10 a year. They ran 7 on Sunday. What I do think is what we're seeing in those first 4 years is traditional sneak spots. And what the tush push has become is a short yardage play. It's not an inches play, it's 2 yards or less, and we will go for it. And they're way more aggressive and willing to do it in their own territory.
Of course, but who do you think would be the best short yardage team in the NFL without the tush push?
Oh, I think Philly.
So do I.
I think Philly, but I don't think they would go for 4th and 1 on their own 32 the way they do right now. That's what I think.
I also think, and Coach, I'd like to hear your opinion on this. I think there's a psychological edge to the tush push. We're lining up in this violent sport.
Playing
you know
rugby.
what we're doing. And everybody knows what we're doing, and you can't stop us. We saw Saquon talking about it against the Chiefs. Would you agree? Like, that gives you a nice
like
edge.
Someone's taking your lunch money and putting you in the trash can. And then it's demoralizing the other team because they can't do anything about it.
I'm really interested if this gets flagged, because I think if this gets flagged one time Sunday, it has real implications for that game and the rest of the year. All right. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.